Today we're going to be talking about a new parenting trend that is gaining a lot of traction this year, and it's called fuck around and find out. It's also known as do something I don't like and I'll make sure you regret it. It's being praised as more of a return to discipline, a return to respect, and parents taking back control. So if our goal is to raise emotionally intelligent, self-aware kids, not just obedient ones, we need to take a deeper look at this. Two different parenting approaches, the fuck around and find out parenting versus that self-aware, conscious, parent-centric parenting. Let's talk about the difference, the impact, and what kids really need from us and our parenting. So let's first talk about the fuck around and find out parenting approach. This is more of a reactive parenting style, and it's rooted in an authoritarian type of parenting, that parenting around fear, frustration, and ego. And I have read different and watched a few different videos. Some are more geared in that kind of end. I think there's kind of spectrums of it. And some more are in the natural discipline realm, which I'm all about natural discipline. I think it's very beneficial. It did not come from this parenting approach. It's been around for a long time. It's a great way to help your children learn, so long as when you're implementing the natural consequence, it isn't followed up with punishment, shame, and guilt. That's a trap that we can fall into. As a parent, we need to understand that if we're going to allow our child to experience a natural consequence, then we need to know that it's going to also have an effect on us. An example would be if we're deciding to go on a hike, it's raining out and your child doesn't want to wear their jacket. All right, go ahead, don't wear your jacket, see how that goes. You go hiking, your child is soaking wet, they're cold, they're uncomfortable, they're complaining the whole time, and you have to stop the hike early and turn around. The F around and find out parent is likely going to implement punishment, guilt, shame, and make them feel bad for making that choice. You ruin the trip for everybody, so and so and so. So if we're parent centric, if we're in that conscious parenting, we're going to understand that one, we allowed them to make that choice. We knew it was going to affect us in some way. We'll parent from an emotional, mature state, understanding that, okay, we have to turn around. You can have a conversation with them. Do you see what happened? Do you see how your choice not only affected you and that you were uncomfortable, but it affected our whole group and that we now have to turn around and end our hike because you chose not to wear your coat? How I avoid all of that, and you can even do it with very young children, is if I'm asking my child, like, grab your coat, we're going hiking, it's going to be raining, and my child says, no, I don't want to wear my coat, I just stop for a moment and I ask them, I'm like, I totally get it. Like, you want to make your own choice. That makes sense. But let's think about what's going to happen if you don't wear your raincoat or if you don't even bring your jacket. And I'll say, so if you don't bring your jacket and it starts raining, what's going to happen? Your child's going to say, well, I'm going to get wet and cold. I'm like, yeah, that's going to suck. Do you want to be wet and cold? And they're going to say no. And so what should we do? And they're going to say, we should bring my raincoat. I'm like, perfect. They bring your raincoat. Giving your child a moment to have some foresight, which is not what their brain is ready to do yet. You have to help them with that. You help them to understand what could potentially happen within that day or whatever you're going to be doing. And then they get to make the decision based off that. If he still decides to not wear his jacket, then you need to, as the parent, know that your day is going to be altered, allowing them to have that natural consequence, but leaving out the punishment and the shame and the guilt because they're already going to be disappointed that they had to turn around. So the difference in that fuck around and find out, where you're going to also implement some type of punishment in with it, versus a very truly natural consequence with an emotionally mature parent or a parent who is parenting in a conscious way, is going to understand that that consequence is also going to affect them and that you would roll with it in that regard without the shame and the guilt. So while this parenting style, the F around and find out, does feel more powerful, and it does give that sense of control and respect that a lot of people are looking for, especially now in this time where the world feels very much out of control. It's easy to try to find areas that we can have more control in. And certainly when you're parenting your kids, that's one way that you can do that. But it doesn't teach in a way that is thoughtful and kind. It doesn't connect you deeply with your child, and it doesn't help them to regulate, and it doesn't usually help you to regulate. It relies on fear instead of true respect, and it relies on compliance instead of understanding and control instead of connection. It's power over parenting, which in one of my earlier videos, I talked a little bit about that power over versus power with parenting so you can know where I stand on that. And it would essentially, yeah, it would give you a quick results in what you want right in the moment, but at what cost? So let's go and talk a little bit about parent-centric parent or parenting or conscious parenting. This is a slower, it's a more intentional and honestly much harder type parenting in the moment. Because instead of reacting, you're working to regulate, you're working to pause instead of punish. And it is all about self-reflection. When you are in that parent-centric or aware parenting, you're looking within. You're seeing a behavior in your child and you're seeing how the way that you're reacting and responding to them or the way that you're parenting is creating that behavior within them. And that is definitely more difficult. It creates a lot of more room for personal growth and a lot more room for self-reflection, which is often difficult for people. This kind of parenting style sees behaviors as a form of communication because all behavior is a way of your child expressing a need. It's not defiant, it's not disrespect, it's a signal, it's a need, a dysregulated nervous system, and a call for your support. It says, I see you struggling and I'm here to help you work through it. It doesn't say you're struggling is annoying me, go deal with it or see what happens if you keep it up. This is not permissive parenting. It is powerful leadership parenting. It is a different kind of power. It's a power with, it's not power over. It's giving your child a sense of control and confidence to be their own person. So let's compare the two a little bit and break it down really quickly. The F around and find out, which is more authoritarian style, but it also implements natural consequences, which I love so long as they're not paired with the punishment and shame. So it's that punishment is equaling the lesson, or that natural consequence along with punishment is equaling the lesson. It's more of an ego-based reaction style parenting. It's the child obeys from fear parenting, and it does equal a short-term control gain with a long-term consequence. Self-aware or conscious parenting is more connection-based parenting, more leadership-based parenting. It requires a lot of reflection and growth from the parent, but that also radiates out to the child and allows them to see that and reflect it back. That parent-centric parenting is parenting from a nervous system regulation model where you are reacting or responding rather from a calm state. And your child learns through that co-regulation and through natural consequences that are not tied to punishment, that are tied to just the natural consequences with an emotionally mature adult. And it brings more trust and resilience and mental health for your child. To me, that is very clear on what parenting style I want to implement, with the fact that I do like the aspect that they're including the natural consequences, though the follow up with it, not my favorite. But again, that fool around and find out did not, and come up with natural consequences. That's been around forever, right? Since the beginning of time. I just fuck around and find out parenting having a moment right now. My belief is because parents are exhausted, because we are dysregulated, because we are under-supported, and the world feels very chaotic right now. And control feels like relief. Because we can look around these generation that is coming up right now and see they're really struggling and feel like that we could put that all maybe on gentle parenting, and then that's why they're struggling. And I don't believe that's the case. I believe that social media, cell phones, state of the world, the lack of support and mental health has created some generations that are struggling. This F around and find out parenting, it glorifies that sense of power in your parenting, like you have the control, that tough love is good for your child, and that don't mess with me, I am the powerful one kind of energy. But for me, the truth is control is not the same as leadership, and domination is not the same as respect. Those types of parenting styles are going to have long-term consequences for your child and for your connection with your child. I believe that self-aware, conscious parenting is the braver choice. It certainly is a more challenging choice. It asks you to look inward, to pause, to heal, to reflect, to do the work within yourself, to own your reaction and to own your mistakes and be accountable for how you show up with your child. And it doesn't mean letting your child run wild, and it doesn't mean letting them be disrespectful and rude to other people, but guarantee you if you implement this parenting style, if this is how you raise your children are not like that. My children are very kind and respectful. They talk to adults all the time when we go to the grocery store. And yes, sometimes they're running around and I am trying to ask them in my nicest voice to listen and they fully ignore me. But guess what? That's every child at some point because their brain is doing something else. I have to go over there and I have to make contact with them and I have to look at them so that they can hear me. It requires more effort. True, but it's helping them to learn how to regulate for the rest of their life, how to be a functioning, mentally healthy adult. And that to me is the goal. How to steer their own ship, if you will. It's not about being soft, it's about being a solid foundation for your child to come back to a steady and safe place for them to learn from that is not based in fear, shame, or guilt. It's parenting from values and boundaries, not from fear. So, yes, your kid will fuck around. That's just what they do. And if you don't like the F word, I'm so sorry. Today's video is probably very annoying for you. But your kid is going to go mess around and they're going to make mistakes. That's part of being a kid, and you don't need to shame them or guilt them or make them feel awful. We can have conversations with them. We can help them regulate. We can help them think beforehand about how things are going to play out and make the decision based off that. What they will find out when they are messing around is that we as parents can still be compassionate towards them. We can still offer them clarity, and consequences can be rooted in connection and not shame, guilt, and fear. And this does not make you a weak parent. It makes you a wise parent. It makes you a parent who's willing to put in the hard work to raise mentally healthy children. That's the real flex. So regulating yourself when your child can't, that's leadership. That's healing. That's the power. If you would love help with this, learning more about the parenting style that I implement with my children, I would love to work with you. Some freebies in the description below, some daily intention worksheets. I have a workbook, or you can work with me one-on-one. If you enjoyed the video, it would mean a lot to me if you liked and subscribed. And I just want you to remember that your healing matters, your growth matters, and that you matter deeply. So please keep showing up. Please keep doing the work. And I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.